Okay, so we've changed our symbology to how we want, and our map is starting to come together. So in this video, we're going to prepare our map to be exported. So to do that in QGIS, we need to first of all create a print layout. So we do this by going into the Project tab at the top, going down near the bottom to where it says New Print Layout. We'll click on this, and it's going to come up with this window that's prompting us to name our layout. So let's call it Zayama Landscape and click OK. So that's going to bring up a new window, our print layout window, which is a blank page. And so we can access our map window again just by minimizing this, and then we can still access our map, and then we can just go back into our print layout. So we can work in both of them just by minimizing the windows. And now we're going to add our map. So we'll do that by going into Add Item in the top menu and clicking Add Map. And this is going to give us a tool that's going to let us draw our map onto our page wherever we want it. So draw a square for your map. And now we can see our map has come up. And our map is a bit smaller than we want it. So what we need to do is we need to be able to interact with our map within this map frame. And to do that, we have to click on the button in the left-hand side, which is Move Item Content. It's the fourth one down. We could also do that by going into Item Properties if we have our map selected, and there's also a button in there to do that. But we'll just do it using the one on the left-hand side. And now we've clicked that, we can interact with our map. We can zoom it in to how we want, and we can move it around to how we want. So get that looking how you want it to look. And now if you wanted to resize your map frame, you don't like how it is, you can click on the third button in the toolbar, so the one just above the one that we had clicked on, and now you can move it and resize it to how you want. And the top hand button just lets you move around your layout page without touching or moving any of the elements on your page. And now we'll take a look at the layout of this print layout view. So it's quite similar to the map view that we had when we were working within our map. We've got the same sort of layout with toolbars across the top and a menu bar across the very top. And so we'll have a look at the different tabs that we have within the menu bar now. So the first one is Layout, and this is similar to Project within the map view. So this is where we could save our project, we can create a new layout, and within this section we can export our map as well. And then looking at the Edit tab, in here we have Undo and Redo buttons, as well as copy and paste functions. And we also have options for selecting and moving around our layout. In View, we have options for zooming, and we can also set a grid or guides in here, and these help us align our map and map elements. We have rulers and guides toggled on, and so this is why we can see the measurements around the sides of our page, around the top and the left-hand side. These are our rulers, and the guides will pop up when we move items around, and these help us align our items. In View, we can also toggle our toolbars and panels on and off. In Items, we can group the things that we add onto our layout together, and we can also organize them to bring them to the front or to the back. And in here we can also lock items, align them, and resize them. Add Item is a really useful section. So this is where we can add in a lot of the elements into our print layout that we might want. So this is where we went to add in our map frame. There's also options for adding pictures and labels, a legend, shapes and arrows. We're going to take a look at adding a scale bar. So we're going to click where it says Add Scale Bar. And this is going to give us the draw mouse again, so we can draw it onto our map. And there's our scale bar. So if we wanted to change this further to suit our preferences, we can just either click on it within our map frame or within the items panel here on the right hand side. We make sure it's selected. Then we can go into item properties, which is just below. And this is where we have all the options for changing how our scale bar looks, and like the scale bar units, for example, position and size. So this is where we have all of the different options for setting our preferences. Let's also take a look at adding a north arrow. So we'll do that by going back into Add Item and go on Add North Arrow. So adding a north arrow isn't normally necessary unless your map isn't orientated north, but we'll do it anyway just to have a look at how you do it. And now you can see that we have these guidelines popping up to help us align our elements. So let's draw our north arrow on. And now we can resize this and move it around to how we want it to be. And again, to change the north arrow to get it exactly how we want it, we can click on it in our map frame or within the items. And now we can access the item properties and we can change it to exactly how we want. Let's take a look at the other tabs that we've not gone through yet. So we have the Atlas tab. We're not going to worry too much about this. We would use this if we wanted to make a map template to publish a large number of similar maps for different geographic locations. In settings, we can access our layout options. So this is where we set our preferences for how we want our layout page to function or look. And then again, underneath this menu bar, we have our toolbars. So we've got some quick access buttons that we can use within here. And if we right click, we can also access where we can toggle the panels and toolbars on and off. In the left-hand side, we've got these quick buttons as well. So this is some of the ones that we've been using, like to be able to interact with our map, or move around our layout, or select our items. So there's some really useful quick access buttons here. Let's take a look on the right hand side. So in here we have our items. This is where we've been selecting our items. We also have toggle boxes for each item so we can turn them on and off. And we have boxes to lock the items as well, to lock them into place, and now we can't move it. And we can also drag them up and down in here, and so we could put elements on top of each other, like we've just moved the map to the top. The tab just next to items is Undo History, and this is where we can see the history of all the things that we've done within our layout. And we can click on one of them to go back to what we had done before. And now we'll take a look at the window underneath our items. And so we have our item properties that we've been using. But let's take a look at the layout. So layout, we just have some preferences for the actual layout of our page. So things like our guides and grid, export functions, and resizing our layout. So we've already taken a look at the item properties tab, but we'll just take a look at our map properties. So we'll make sure our map is selected in our items. And now let's look at the map item properties. So what we can have access to now is the buttons that are at the top. And so we have some buttons for changing the extent of our map. We also have a button to access the bookmarks within our map. So for example, the Italy bookmark that we created, we can now go and access that. And we have the button as well for being able to interact within our map, so to move it around and zoom in and out. And then within item properties, we can change the scale of our map, the rotation. We could manually change the extent of our map. And scrolling down, we've got lots of other options. So you can just play around and change your map to exactly how you want. We're going to take a look at adding grid lines. So to do that, we need to click on this green plus symbol here underneath where it says grids. Then we can select the grid we added and click Modify Grid. And now this is going to let us add our grid in. So at the moment we can't see our grid even though we added it because we need to set the intervals. First of all, for grid type, we want it to be solid because this is going to make some solid lines over our map. And then for interval, we'll set this as map units. So which unit this is depends on the projected coordinate system of your map. If your map coordinate system is in degrees, you'll want something like 0.00001 intervals in this X and Y box. But our map coordinate system is in meters, so something around 10,000 should work well. So let's put that in the X and Y box. And now we have our grid lines, but we want to add some labels. So we're going to add some ticks and labels. To add our ticks, we can scroll down and go into the frame section. And under frame style, we can put exterior ticks. And this just added the little tick marks around the outside of our map. And now let's add our labels. So to do that, we'll scroll down to where it says Draw Coordinates and toggle the box on. And now we've got some labels. So let's change the format because we want decimal with suffix. And that's going to give us the north and west. So we know that we're looking at the longitude and the latitude. And we can set lots of different preferences in this section. So have a play around with these different buttons to get your grid lines and your labels to how you want. We're just going to change the coordinate precision for now. So we're just going to put 0 here just to get rid of those unnecessary decimal points. So that's how to add grids, and that's all the main buttons and layouts of the print layout window in QGIS. The last thing we're going to talk about is how to get your layout back up if you accidentally shut it. So if you accidentally hit the X button and you needed to get it back up, go in your map view in your project and you can go in the project tab, go into the layouts, and now you can access your layout again.